Why isn't Shedeur Sanders starting? How Browns' QB depth chart stacks up. NFL fans spent most of the 2025 offseason wondering who would win the Cleveland Browns' wide-open quarterback competition. They got their answer ahead of the team's third preseason game, when the Browns announced Joe Flacco had won the battle. Flacco emerged from the crowded field as several members of the competition missed time due to injuries. The 40-year-old spent the 2024 NFL season with the Indianapolis Colts, posting a 2-4 record across 6 starts while completing 65.3% of his passes for 1,761 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. While Flacco's selection won't be a surprise to many who followed the Browns' quarterback competition closely, some NFL fans were undoubtedly hoping to see one of the team's younger quarterbacks emerge in the starting role. But ultimately, neither Dillon Gabriel nor Shedeur Sanders were able to stake a claim to the starting job despite shining at times during the preseason. NFL Stat Central, the latest NFL scores, schedules, odds, stats, and more. Here's more to know about Cleveland's decision and how the depth chart will shake out behind Flacco. Why isn't Shedeur Sanders starting for the Browns? While Sanders received a lot of hype during the 2025 NFL offseason, the Colorado product was always facing an uphill battle to emerge as a Week 1 starter. Sanders was routinely listed as the number 4 quarterback on Cleveland's depth chart after being selected in the 5th round of the 2025 NFL Draft. He was listed behind Flacco, Pickett, and fellow rookie Gabriel, who was selected 50 picks ahead of him in the 3rd round of the 2025 NFL Draft. As such, Sanders had to make up ground to get into the starting quarterback race. He took advantage of an opportunity to do just that in Week 1 of the preseason, when Flacco, Pickett, and Gabriel were all out of action. Sanders played the bulk of the game because of those absences and completed 14 of 23 passes for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns in a 30-10 Browns victory over the Carolina Panthers. However, Sanders was unable to build on that momentum in preseason Week 2. He suffered an oblique injury in practice and was held out of the team's game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Sanders was unable to emerge as a true challenger for Flacco while he was out of action. Stefanski named the 40-year-old veteran Cleveland starter following the 2nd preseason game. Sanders' attention then shifted to a dual goal of winning a roster spot with the Browns and battling Pickett and Gabriel for the backup quarterback job. Sanders struggled badly in Cleveland's final preseason game, completing 3 of 6 passes for 14 yards while being sacked 5 times for 41 yards. Nonetheless, the 23-year-old still managed to make Cleveland's 53-man roster and settled into his role as the Browns' 3rd-string quarterback after Pickett was traded to the Las Vegas Raiders. Browns QB depth chart. The Browns currently have 3 quarterbacks on their 53-man roster and 4 healthy ones in their organization. Below is a look at the pecking order within the group. Joe Flacco, Dillon Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, Bailey Zappe, practice squad. Deshaun Watson is also still a part of the Browns organization. He is presently on the physically unable to perform (PUP) list after he tore his Achilles in Week 7 last season and again less than 3 months later. He isn't expected to play in 2025 because of the injury. Tyler Huntley was on Cleveland's 90-man roster during the offseason. He signed on as the team's 5th-string quarterback amid injuries to Gabriel and Pickett, but was released as part of the team's final cuts. The 2022 Pro Bowler has since signed with the Baltimore Ravens practice squad. Meanwhile, Zappe made 1 start for the Browns last season, completing 16 of 31 passes for 170 yards, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions in a 35-10 loss to the Ravens, but spent the 2025 offseason with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Browns brought back the 2022 4th-round pick on their practice squad after roster cuts to serve as their 4th-string quarterback. The Cleveland Browns have always been a franchise defined as much by its quarterbacks as by its defense, culture, and fan base. In fact, when you mention Cleveland football to anyone who has lived through its modern history, one image comes to mind: a carousel of quarterbacks, spinning endlessly through decades, each new name arriving with hype, only to leave with disappointment or, at best, bittersweet memories. Into this narrative has stepped Shedeur Sanders, son of Deion Primetime Sanders, and one of the most polarizing young quarterbacks to enter the NFL in recent memory. Yet, as the 2025 season looms, the question hangs in the air, echoing through sports talk shows, fan forums, and locker rooms alike. Why isn't Shedeur Sanders starting? The Browns invested heavily in him. The hype around his transition from Colorado was massive. His brand, swagger, and bloodline made him one of the most marketable young faces in the NFL. But when the Browns released their quarterback depth chart, Shedeur's name wasn't penciled into that coveted starting spot. Instead, he sits behind veterans, waiting, learning, watching. The answer, like most things in football, is layered, messy, and filled with both logic and controversy. Let's peel it back. 1. The Browns' eternal quarterback dilemma. Before we can even analyze Shedeur Sanders' situation, we need to appreciate the Browns' history with quarterbacks. Since 1999, Cleveland has been a graveyard for quarterback careers, a place where even promising talents seem to burn out quickly. From Tim Couch to Baker Mayfield, the cycle has been brutal. Draft a young QB, build hopes around him, throw him into the fire too early, watch him crack under pressure, rinse and repeat. The Browns' front office knows this cycle well. They've heard the criticism about not developing quarterbacks properly, about failing to build the infrastructure to protect them. So, when Shedeur Sanders entered the building, the plan was cautious from day one. The Browns cannot afford another throw him to the wolves experiment. Shedeur is seen not just as a player, but as a long-term investment. And investments take time. 2. Shedeur Sanders. Talent meets spotlight. Shedeur Sanders' path to Cleveland was different from most rookies. At Colorado, he wasn't just another quarterback. He was the quarterback, the centerpiece of his father's larger-than-life coaching project. Every game was televised, every throw dissected, every celebration highlighted on social media. By the time the NFL came calling, Shedeur was already a brand. And with brand comes expectation. Cleveland fans, desperate for excitement, immediately latched onto the idea of Sanders leading their franchise. The jerseys sold fast, the hype reels rolled, and the spotlight grew hotter. But inside Berea, the Browns' coaching staff knew what the fans didn't. Shedeur was talented, yes. Poised, yes. But raw. He needed to adjust to the speed of the NFL game, to defenses far more complex than anything he saw in the Pac-12 or Big 12. He needed to master the playbook, learn to read coverages at lightning speed, and develop chemistry with his receivers. The Browns decided to shield him, at least for now. 3. The Browns' QB depth chart, a logjam of talent and politics. The real reason Shedeur isn't starting lies in the Browns' quarterback depth chart, a lineup that looks less like a traditional pecking order and more like a chessboard filled with mismatched but capable pieces.